You are watching UCU Focus TV.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Focus Point. My name is Patience Among and I am your host today. But first of all, I'd like to take you through the standard newspaper, this month's edition. It has very many interesting stories. For example, UCU channels out 1,524 students. New UCU mentorship programs were launched and many other stories. But today, our main topic is students raise complaints about guild budget. The complaint about the guild budget is that the guild budget was processed without the speaker's signature. Please don't forget to get a copy from the Standard and also the library, the main library. Today with me in studio is Honorable Mr. Muchiri William, MP of Students of Special Needs and all-time President of UCU Catholic Community. You are most welcome.
Thank you, Madam, for hosting me.
Also, Mr. Muwanika John Albert, the President of the Society Abasogansete. You are most welcome.
Thank you so much for hosting me, and I'm happy to be here.
So let's get into the topic of today. What do you think about the guild government's budget?
Does that question go to me?
Yeah, you first, please.
Okay, thank you so much for this opportunity. First and foremost, I want to first clear the air that I'm not the spokesperson of the government. I'm not the Minister of Information, but me being part of the legislative office, I think I stand a nice ground to give my views on one of our major roles as Parliament for appropriation of funds, students' funds specifically. Yes, you have asked me a question of what is my view about the guild budget. Yes, the guild budget was presented to us, first and foremost, we as Parliament. We had a series of the sittings whereby we had to scrap out the unnecessary and we live in what we thought as Parliament that was really to the best needs of the students' body. But it is alas that whatever we did was equally a waste of time. I should call it a waste of time because the budget that we had agreed upon, we as Parliament, is not the budget that was considered. It was one of our sittings, whereby the Speaker of Parliament told us he received a message from one of the big officers that the budget that allegedly the President went and took the budget to one of those big offices, and a certain budget was approved, which wasn't ours. So, in simple terms, the budget was brought to Parliament to just inform us that this is the budget, and as it was clearly seen in the documents that were circulating, the Speaker didn't have any of his signatures, neither did the Deputy Speaker have. Because I've read in your article showing that the Deputy Speaker signed on that budget, which I don't agree with. Maybe next time you will host her here and she will elaborate more on that. But according to what I know, we have never had any parliamentary sitting concerning that budget being assented to by Parliament. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Mwanika, could you tell us your opinion about the budget?
Thank you so much for granting me this opportunity, and thank you for hosting me here. Regards with the guild budget, generally the whole guild budget is an irregularity, because if you look at the budget, there is, as the aside, Mr. Mchibi, the Speaker did not assent to that budget, and this budget was not endorsed by Parliament, but as per the Guild Constitution and the culture we have always been, it is Parliament that's supposed to appropriate money and also pass the budget. But if at all the executive can come up with its own budget and it is approved by the higher authorities, it means the people in the higher authorities and the executive, in actual sense, they are trying to overthrow the Constitution. And if at all the guild president decides to violate the Constitution, yet during her swearing in, she swore to uphold all the provisions of the Constitution, I think it is high time for her to be impeached, because as Parliament, as the President, why would you go against the Constitution that you swore to protect, and later on you go on to enforce irregularity? Because it is common norm that the Parliament has to pass that budget. Parliament came up with its own budget, it was passed, and when it went the other side up, the executive came up with its own budget. So we are trying to see a conflict between the executive and the legislature. And even if you look at the budget, the budget is full of poor mathematics. It is full of mathematics, because if you look at the figures don't correspond with the total in the budget. Especially if you look at if you dive deep into this budget, there was poorly wrong mathematics when they were calculating these figures. And if you're to look at, I can take you specifically to the budget where the clerks of Parliament and the clerks of the Guild Tribunal are. If you look at it, they say the quantity is 2, and each is supposed to get around 50,000. But if you look at the total is around 1,080,000. If you multiply 50,000 by 2, you get around 100,000. But the total amounts to 1,080,000. And again clerks of the tribunal, they said there are 2 clerks, and it's supposed to get to 50. If you multiply it by it, it's supposed to be 100,000. The total comes to around 1 million. Their total comes around 1,440,000. So here we are seeing poor mathematics and poor calculations in the budget. When if you look at the first part of the budget, where there is the guild president under the guild week, under the quantity it is 1, then amount they put 3 million, and total they put 2 million, which means if you reach the total they reduce it by 1 million, which doesn't really make sense. And if you get just a simple calculator and sit down and calculate in this budget, really the figures don't come out. It was made poorly, mathematically, and legally it is not legal, because there is no way we can have a budget that has not been consulted by the Speaker. I don't know whether the executive and the higher authorities I don't know if it was a syndicate game, I can say, because if the university really accepts the fact that the Guild Constitution is operational and it is in effect, why would the higher officers acknowledge the budget that has not been approved by Parliament? It does not really make sense, because this is something that is even beyond legal terms. It is politics at play. Because if at all you claim the Guild Constitution is in effect and you recognize the Guild government, why would you consider this without first consulting from the Speaker? It really raises a lot of questions, because as we are seeing every other year the Guild budget is being cut. The amount keeps on reducing. The amount located to the Guild government, they always keep on reducing. The money that was given to the government, the 26th government, is not the same money they gave to the 25th government. It's not the same money they are giving to the 7th Guild government. So why should we always have varying figures in the Guild budget, yet the number of students are increasing, but the number being given to the Guild government is reducing? So everything around the Guild budget, it raises a lot of questions. because it doesn't make sense. You're admitting more students, but you're reducing the amount of money you're allocating to the guild government as the money you're supposed to budget for. So the issue of the guild budget, it is a very long story, but as we are looking at the executive putting their own budget that come up from nowhere, and whereby most members of parliament are denying that's not the budget we passed, we should also look at is the universe also fulfilling its obligations? Why should you keep on reducing the money for the guild government every year, yet you're admitting students every year? It doesn't really make sense. But as well as, even though the government is giving, the university is giving us less money, but we should try to respect the rule of law. Let's uphold the rule of law. If it is parliament supposed to appropriate the money and make this budget, as the executive, there is no way you can come up and you want to overthrow parliament, because if you want to take up the roles of parliament as the executive, it means we are heading into anarchy and dictatorship, because as the executive has its own roles that are provided before in the constitution. Even the parliament has its own roles. So I see no reason why the guild president will want to take over the roles of the parliament, because if parliament has passed their budget and you as the president and the executive, you come up with a different budget, it doesn't really make sense. So it is high time the executive and parliament sit on the round table and see how best this can be solved, because this is really setting a bad precedent for the governments who are coming in. Because if we continue moving on with such impunity, whereby parliament can make its own resolution in its own mandate and the executive from nowhere comes over to overturn that, then it means we no longer have good governments, because that would be like it is a one-man government, what we are seeing right now, because parliament represents the interest of the people. But as the executive, you've gone against the interest of the people, which means now you're after personal interest. And even if you're to dive into this budget deep and look at it, how can you allocate 5.2 million shillings to welfare, and you give associations 2 million? There are around 33 associations, which means that each association is going to get 60,000 shillings, which cannot even run an association for even a single day. And you allocate 5 million to yourselves as welfare. It does not make sense anyhow, because there is no way you can say that our welfare, we shall have 5 million, and the cultural gala, you give it 3 million. It doesn't make sense. You said association week, we shall give it 500,000, but welfare, you're having 5 million. It doesn't make sense. So no wonder this budget was not, it doesn't have the speaker's signature, because it is more of personal interest and over the students' interest, because it is unrealistic, it is unreasonable. The manner in which it was made, it does not make sense at all. Even the mathematics, it's very poor. That's what I can say about the good budget.
Thank you so much, Mr. Muhanika. I'm going to pass another question to Mr. William. Why do you think the president sidelined the budget that was processed by Parliament?
Thank you so much for that question, but I think that question can really serve a very good purpose, if at all it was asked to the president. But basing on the hearsay, I can tell you, first of all, we as Parliament, we had there was a great clash between the office of the IGG and whether it is supposed to be there or not. And the major purpose of the Parliament going against that office was that it should, if it should be there, it should be going through the rightful processes. But I don't know, somehow, somewhere, I think the procedures failed, and they decided to leave it there by force. And that's how I think the president had to do away with our budget, because the budget wasn't considering the office of the IGG. But it is also to my surprise that even the latest budget that is circulating right now is not favoring the office of the IGG, because the DOSA herself denied the office of the IGG because it's not recognized in the guild, in the offices of the UCU guild government. And if at all it was supposed to be recognized, they had to bring it through the rightful procedures. I want to bring to your notice that most of the people who are appointed at the IGGs, I know them on personal basis. But I even reached out to them telling them that this office rate, the president wants it to be there, but let it go through the rightful processes. And that was a very big clash between the president and the parliament that even brought in issues of, if at all you won't consider my budget, I think I will choose other means. And indeed they worked. So we are here sailing in the boat of an alleged budget that we are using. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Mwanika, what are the implications of this budget to the guild?
The implications of the budget to the what?
The guild leadership, sorry.
The guild leadership. Of course, that alone sets a very bad precedent to us, the students, because in the first question you will be asking yourself, why did the guild president choose to sideline, just as you asked earlier, why did he choose to sideline Parliament? Yet Parliament represents the interest of the students, and the Parliament is comprised of MPs, that members of Parliament that are elected in different schools. So which means that the guild president is willing to forego all the wishes and interests of students over her personal interests, because this one has a very big implication on it, and it's not my own surprise that the guild president decided to sideline the speaker, because I think there are disagreements started from the parliament rejecting the first cabinet list that was released, and also rejecting the office of the IGG. I think that's where the problem began from, the clash between the executive and the parliament. But the implication it has, it sets a very bad implication for our leaders, because it is showing high level of dictatorship and high level of I can say egocentrism. There is a I don't know even I can try to bring it out, but what we are seeing here right now, it is personal interest over the well-being of other students, because if at all Parliament has failed to approve the office of the IGG, why would you sideline the budget? This budget is for the best interest of the students, but you want to take the personal interest over the students' interest. It doesn't really make sense. As the guild president, I think it is high time she should put this into consideration. That was a bad move that she made, and the people who advised her to do so, it was a very bad mistake they made, because there is no way you can try to sideline Parliament, which actually, in actual sense, you can say that she's trying to overthrow the constitution, the good constitution that we are having. And if she attempts to overthrow the constitution, of course, she has to be impeached. But I don't know what Mr. Mukibi is waiting for, and his fellow members of Parliament, because right now where we are, the president has already overrode over the Parliament. Right now we are seeing a Parliament which is powerless. It doesn't have anything, despite the fact that the executive came up with its own budget. Parliament has no any power to challenge it or not. Actually, I may not blame Parliament, but the fact that this budget was also approved by the officers, the higher officers, I think it tries to bring in that I think the officers, I think they're working together with the guild president, and I think even if Parliament is to come up with any legal means, I don't think it would be successful, because already the people in higher authorities are supporting whatever the guild president might be, let it be legal or illegal. So that also explains why Parliament has tried to stay silent on it, but it really sets a bad precedent, and it should never happen again. If at all the university still values leadership in UCU, and if at all it claims that it respects and upholds the guild leadership in the university, that kind of thing should never happen again, because if it is continuing happening again, it means leadership in UCU has lost value. Because if at all you can allow such an irregularity to take place under the watch of the whole leadership of the university, it portrays a very bad image, not only here in UCU, but even outside the university. It portrays a very bad image, and it should never happen again. I think this should be the first and last time that thing should happen, but it would be killing the reputation and the image of our university. And it is un-Christian. Actually, it is against the principles that they teach us. Because if you say it's a Christian university, so it means you must do your things in a Christian way. But if at all you have not seen the stamp of the speaker, and it is provided for in the council that the speaker has to approve that budget, why would you go ahead and stamp on it? It doesn't make sense to me, but we should try to observe our Christian values, because that was it was an abrupt move. We didn't see it coming.
Maybe to chip in a little bit, because my colleague here has asked me why we have taken long to maybe move a motion of impeachment. You can look at, for example, where we all started. We started where this government started from. We as Parliament have tried to do a lot of things, but I don't think the only thing that we have actually done and was considered was vetting the cabinet into office. But the moment we brought in the cabinet into office, I think on that moment we lost our power, because even last time we had Madam Karen visiting us in one of our sittings, and even Uncle Tom. We asked him the same question, that do we even still matter in this university? Because whatever we say, how about now? Right now we had an issue of again the guild government is trying to amend this constitution here. Now, I even don't know. At times I even ask myself, what are we amending? Because it was already breached and everything is moving swiftly. What are we amending that has already been breached and nothing has been done? At a certain point, I ask myself that are we really following the Christian values, the Christian core values that the university is teaching us? Because honestly speaking, we have cried to all those officers on individual basis, as a parliament as a whole, but nothing is coming out from any of the officers. I don't know if they're having their hands tied, but we are all students here. I want to believe that we're all students. So when we come to the university and we enroll for, because I want to believe when you come for the guild leadership, this is another course. We're enrolling for a leadership course. And if at all the pioneers and the people responsible to take us through the course are seeing us taking a very wrong path, and they are also keeping quiet, I think it throws a very bad image, because you can realize people have really lost morale of coming even to the guild. I'm even worried whether when we advertise that now it's time for elections, I'm even worried whether people will come and apply for those positions, because they are not seeing any impact. The moment we come to power, it is just a matter of someone sits down behind their laptop and they throw memos. You just see memos here and there. The unethical memos, I would say, for lack of a better word. But it is really absurd to me as a member of parliament who came to serve the students' body to see such things that are happening. It's really unbecoming. But the ball goes back to the university administration to see that at least it's not yet too late. By the way, it's never too late. Things can be changed. Because if we cannot deal with this illegality, believe me, even these things we are trying to amend, I don't think they will value. Parliament might sit down and they say we are amending the constitution, this is what we want. And before you know it, the cabinet has also gone with its amendments. And they are the ones being considered. So at Parliament we have really lost morale. Me as a member of Parliament, I've lost morale over most of the things that are happening. And I think nothing much can be done unless we get a response from the big offices, because this is going to be the song. I was surprised when the story of the budget was even brought back, because this has been the song every now and again, and we are going to leave government when we are just still in that nonsense. So I cry out to those big offices, please save us from this burning saucepan. We are your students. However much you might be guild officials, we are your students. Please consider us. Last time when we complained to Uncle Tom and Madam Karen, they promised that something will be done. But up to now, something has not yet been done. We just go, we have sittings, you go have lunch, the day ends. What is that really? Yet for someone who has come to serve the students' body, I beg to submit.
Thank you so much. Seeing the all-time president of UCU Catholic Community, yes, leading is heartbreaking.
Indeed.
Anyways, Mr. Mwanika, can you help tell the audience how the guild government can redeem itself?
Right now, as William said, it is never too late, but where the guild government is going, it is going in a situation whereby it is even, you cannot even redeem them right now, because they have less than 5 months in power.
In this current situation,
yes,
can they redeem themselves?
In this current situation, they cannot redeem themselves, because there is no way you're going to tell me that the DVCF and is going to turn against himself, that I did not approve that budget. The people who stamped on that budget, that they are going to again turn against themselves. These are real responsible people, and they are not. I don't think they are willing to do so. So right now, however much Parliament might make noise, make some noise, they will make some noise, but I don't think there is nothing that is going to change. Because if at all that budget was approved without even their consultation, do you think it is going to be successful when they are making their noise right now? I believe right now we are beyond that period of redeeming themselves. Because what William and his fellow members of Parliament should be asking themselves, if at all the Universal Administration approved this budget without our consultation and without our approval, will they turn against their own decision that we should take the consideration of the Guild Parliament? There is nothing that is going to change. Actually, as he has said, we should also pray for our amendments, because the Cabinet might also come up with its own amendments, and of course they will take the amendments of the executive over the Parliament, because right now Parliament has become useless in the affairs of the Guild, because it all comes back to us and the people who are up there. As if at all they still value the leadership, something has to be done, just as William here said. He's a very devoted Catholic.
Very devoted.
That's why he was emphasizing that we need to observe the Christian values that we teach, because that was dishonesty. For sure, it was dishonest for that budget to be approved. At least they had to consult from the speaker if this was and why was this stamp not there? Why didn't he approve that budget? So the administration itself needs to sort out itself. As William has said, it is never too late. This has happened for the first time, and I believe it can be sorted out so that next time it cannot happen again. Because right now, what I can say, that budget will not be changed. What has to be done right now, making sure that thing does not happen again, and how best can we reconcile that. For now, and the best advice I would give Parliament is to just accept that budget. They say someone to accept something must not be under duress and undue influence. But right now we have no option. You you can be in a game whereby you're losing by 7-0, and you are in the 87th minute. And there is no way you're going to redeem yourself, and whereby you might be having like 3 red cards. So Parliament right now, what it's supposed to do, let them accept whatever happened, and what they should now plan for that thing never to happen again. Because I can assure you, in front of this camera, there's nothing that is going to change. Those big men cannot turn against their word. They can't.
If you were in Parliament, would you accept?
If I was in Parliament, first of all, you should know that the cardinal rule, we are here, you're a student, first of all. That is your number one cardinal rule. And leadership comes in as a service. You bring in as a service. You want to serve your fellow students. So it takes a lot to become a leader. But where conditions have gone far and they are beyond your control, you have to accept. You have to accept it, because there's no way you're going to say that Parliament is going to wage a war against the university administration, why they had to approve a guild budget that was never considered them. What we must have right now is dialogue. The only thing they can do is dialogue between them and the university administration. Beyond dialogue, there's nothing that is going to happen. And we see how best we can try to reconcile that. I cannot tell you that this is going to, it is unrealistic, and I'm a person who doesn't want to talk about unrealistic things. But that budget is changing. It is near impossible. Parliament cannot redeem itself right now. I have much belief in that, because what I know, if the university administration has held upon that thing and their stamps are there, those people will not turn against their word. For that I know. With this UCU, maybe if it is another university, but
but will be a little bit different. I want to believe that the university, actually, I want to believe that the major reason why I think this university is in place was basically theologians, isn't it? And I want to believe that if we want to keep that light burning, I want to say that something can be done. I don't want to discredit the intelligence of the bigger officers of this university, because believe me or not, when a budget is being sent to them, they trust that obviously there have been great minds that have been backing up all this, and usually it's just a matter of signing, because it goes through a series of sieving. So if those big people receive such a budget, in most cases it is a matter of signing, because they really trust us. Now, I won't put so much blame onto them, because they have a lot of on their desk. But now, how are you going to work with this illegality that has happened? As I have said, that has been my number one song ever since the government started dialoguing. And I assure you, ever since the government started, the government has never met as a whole. We are still separate. Parliaments meet separately, cabinets meet separately, and who knows, maybe by the grace of God, we are organizing the General Assembly. Maybe the cabinet might find it worthy to come and join us, but I just pray you come, because as you read the General Assembly in the Guild Constitution is the highest organ of the government. Any member who doesn't consider it the highest organ, I believe they shouldn't be considered to be part of the government. But I cry out to you that at least you come for the General Assembly. We see, so that people hold us accountable for what we do. Because I assure you, this budget we're talking about, I even don't know how money comes out of the offices, because as we talk now, we don't have a legally recognized finance minister. We don't have. So I don't know who writes the requisitions, who gets the requisitions out, but you just see money flying, events are happening here and there. So I don't know who is that person signing against those requisitions. Because we as Parliament, the mere fact that we are supposed to appropriate those funds, just have to follow them. Okay, we didn't appropriate the funds. But at least let us follow that. Let us follow up the let us at least follow up the funds, because you can't take all our cardinal roles. The mere fact that we did not appropriate the funds, at least let them give us that opportunity to follow up the funds, and we see what has been spent, what have we gained, because this business of just seeing money fly out, certain money was given to certain minister, then another amount of money was allocated to a certain minister, and for us Parliament, we are just seated there. We even don't know where that requisition came from, because we don't have a finance minister. Then some things are really hurting. But it is the fact, and it is what is in the situation right now.
I actually feel sorry for Mr. Muchibi, because the fact that you say that they don't have a finance minister in place and money is just flying in. But actually, I think even what Mr. Muchibi is trying to advocate for, I think it won't happen, because how can you follow up funds that you didn't appropriate?
No, that's where the dilemma is coming in.
Because first of all, it is, as they claim, it's the executive that appropriated that money. So why do you want to follow up their
money that they appropriated? Their money that they appropriated. It is really a loss.
But actually, we are operating under an illegality, because what we are seeing right now, Parliament has been totally overthrown. It's like it has been resolved to the extent that they cannot even follow up funds that were appropriated. No one is giving them accountability. So from the time they took away their roles, our Parliament has never recovered. I think it has only recovered when it's making this constitutional amendment. Were it not for constitutional amendments, Mr. William also be here lamenting again.
We even don't know whether our amendments are going to be considered, because they are still prone to change. But anyway, by the grace of God, we hope for the better.
In conclusion, Mr. William, do you think there will be any adjustments to the budget?
Yes. Thank you so much for that question. As a believer, I think we can still make something. But if the situation continues like the way it is, and I don't want to be one of the hopeless people, because the first failures in life is to lose hope. I still have hope that something can really be done. It's not yet too late. I know the executive is watching. The students' board is watching, the school administration is watching. It's not yet too late. We can still do something, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you so much. As we conclude, Mr. Mwanika, do you think there will be any adjustments in the budget?
My brother William seems to be a very strong believer. But sometimes there is where you have to be realistic to yourself and be like, this is not going to be achieved. So, to me, we are in July. We literally have 2 weeks to exams. Next semester is for elections again. Personally, Mr. William, let me finish my point. So, Mr. William is a strong believer, but personally, I have little belief that it's something that is going to change. And I am sure that's the budget that is going to be used until the end of their regime. I don't think, because if something is going to change, right now it would have been changed, because since from the time that budget has been released, it's now coming to close to 2 months, if I'm not mistaken. If not 1, it is 2 months. And there's nothing that has changed. I don't believe that there is something that is going to change at the end of their regime. Because right now, Mr. Michiv, what's not realized is that they're in the evening time of their regime. Their regime is coming to an end. And there is, me personally, I have belief that there is nothing that is going to change. We are going to remain with that thing. Actually, we need to even hold elections next month, because we are the government has already collapsed, because if at all Parliament has been taken over, it means the government has collapsed. We are now in a constitutional coup, but that's what I can say. It is a coup. The Parliament has been overtaken. So right now, to save ourselves from this coup, what we can do, just holding elections after. If it is possible, they can even hold them next month, because right now, I even know how I can describe it, but maybe there is still room for change and redeeming themselves. Parliament can still retain its powers if at all the guilty president is willing to sit down with them and have dialogue. The best way they can still, my advice still to them, to Parliament, is still dialogue. Dialogue until when that time comes when you will live in power, because there is nothing that you're going to do beyond dialoguing in an institution like UCU, which has very strict laws. So continue dialoguing, Mr. William. But sincerely, my advice would be we should try to respect each other and whatever office someone might be holding. Yes, you might say these are campus things, but it will not end here, because you're putting a precedent, and in everywhere you go, they will be branding at her. You're seeing OKURUT there, but OKURUT was not an easy person like that. All we have to say, Parliament and the executive need to sit down and sort out their differences. If the problem is the office of the IGG, and if you're saying that if without the office of the IGG you cannot do any of your duties, sit down and reach a consensus with the executive and see what you can have for the interest of the students. Let's climb down from our high horses, especially the executive. They should come sit down in Parliament so that we can work for the students, because it is the students that put them into power. So they should leave the personal interest over student interests. As I conclude, my message to them is, before even we end this semester, Mr. William, plus your fellow MPs, you should try to sit down with the executive and sort out your differences. But otherwise, if you don't sit down, your regime is going to be more worse than that of the 26th Guild government. At least for them, they did something, but we are still waiting for your government. So you just
I want to quote one of the great men in Uganda here. That is the Katikkiro of Buganda, HT Charles Peter Mayiga. I remember in the previous elections, people were asking him, the previous general elections of Uganda, not the one for UCU. People were asking him that who to vote for in Buganda here. And first he told them, you should be very vigilant and vote the person who identifies and is ready to fight for the core values of Buganda Kingdom. And secondly, then they asked him that now even if we vote, you know the result that is going to come out. He told them a very good story that if at all you know your door doesn't lock, do you sleep in the house without a door, or you at least to bring it and put something on the doorway? Because that at that moment whereby everything is seeming to be impossible, at least maybe when you put a door in front of that, when you put that wooden door in front of that hole, someone who was intending to come might say, now these people have locked. I need to go back and get my panga. So yet it is just a matter of removing it and you enter and take something. So me, I want to show that something still can be done. I don't want to be like my brother here. And maybe to give a recommendation. Because you see, if someone when someone goes into the process of elections, basically MPs and the president, I want to believe, basically someone who has gone through that process knows the value and knows how the thing is tiresome to go deep down into the student's body and hunt for those votes. They know the purpose and they know the value of the office they are holding. I want to say that if at all, however much the president has powers to appoint, I want to call upon the administration that at least if the president appoints people, let them go through the whole process we have gone through. You may exclude out the election part of it, but let them go through the vetting. Because many times we see people being brought to us, and the mere fact that someone has the qualifications of the CGPA, but they don't have the leadership value in them, and they're just friends with the president. So that really will take us very many steps behind. But if at all, at least they are also subjected to the process we go through, someone will get to know the value of the office they are holding. Because someone doesn't even care about the office, and they are just there filling positions. Many of the ministers there, you can ask them, do you have anything in your report? They have nothing. They have nothing to present. Nothing is moving on, many of them. But you can see the ministers that are really working. Most of the ministers are the ministers that are coming from parliament, the ministers within the house. So I want to say that at least that recommendation, if at all it is brought, let those people also be, let them also be subjected to that process we go through as parliamentarians, because it is really absurd for an MP to go through all that process, and then at the end of the day, someone else is appointed to just step on the MP who's actually working, who has even more numbers, to convince the students' body. Honestly, the MPs, ministers are brought whereby they cannot even mobilize 50 students for an event, and he's a minister. He's the one holding students' money. Yes, thank you so much.
As Mr. John Albert doesn't see light at the end of the tunnel, I'm seeing someone who still sees light at the end of the tunnel. Thank you so much for having an interesting talk and engaging in this topic. Thank you so much, and I cannot end this show again without advertising our newspaper, the Standard newspaper. Please make sure you get a copy. This Standard newspaper has very many interesting stories. Please. I remain your host, Patience Among. Have a lovely night.
You are watching UCU Focus TV.